Hello, everybody. Marcus here, Keller Williams Realty in MEC1 in February of 2020 with an answer to the question, how is the real estate market doing and what can we expect from 2020? In order to answer that, we'll take a look first at the 2019 results. If you own real estate, of course, you want to know how did the market do and what does that mean for the value of my home. So we'll take a look at some 2019 numbers here. We have here the metro area and specifically Milwaukee County with 8,000 homes sold, pretty much the same as the year before, and an 8% increase in median sales price. We're now at $175,000. As you know, median sales price is not the same as appreciation, but I think it gives you a sense of where the market was going in the last 12 months. Very high velocity. So when you look 16 days on market is the median, 22% faster than the year before. And in Ozaukee, basically the same picture, plus 5.7%. Interestingly enough, when you start breaking it down into the two biggest submarkets in MEC1 and Cedarburg, you can see how individual submarkets can behave quite differently. Only 1.6% plus on the MEC1 market, admittedly on a much higher price point. And Cedarburg is on fire with plus 7.5% on almost $400,000 now on median price point. So those are quite interesting results for 2019. Question is, what can we expect for 2020? When you read about real estate these days in the newspaper, a lot of talk is about inventory shortage. I would say the inventory, we're not really short on inventory because we have sold last year over 28,000 homes in the Milwaukee metro area, and that is 4 or 5,000 units more than historically. And so that inventory came from somewhere. It just moved very quickly. So I would rather call it high market velocity and not necessarily an inventory shortage, because we have a substantial number of properties hitting the market every week, but they just sell very, very quickly oftentimes. Not all the time. So I get the question, does everything sell in a hot market? The answer is no. I basically see three categories of listings. We have hot listings that are competitive, that multiple offers sell over asking very quickly on the first 1 or 2 days on the market. I've done several of these deals in January this year, and they were very competitive. There's another group of listings that are kind of warm listings, so that will sell eventually. Maybe there's a couple of price reductions. Maybe the buyer is making an offer that's a little less than asking price. They will sell eventually. But believe it or not, there is a group of listings that will expire and will actually not sell. And I pulled here the MEC1 numbers for 2019. You can see 329 single-family homes sold, and 149 of them did expire. So they went through showings and open houses and were listed for 4 months or half a year and did eventually not sell, which is a very frustrating experience for a seller. So whether you're a buyer or a seller, you can see how important it is that you know which one of these three you're dealing with, because obviously your strategy is going to be very different depending on which one it is. Inventory, so on a national level, very low, 3.7 months worth of supply. When we look locally, we're around 2 months of inventory, Ozaukee 2.5, Milwaukee with 1.8 months of inventory. So very high velocity for the existing inventory. So the good ones will move very, very quickly. State of economy looks pretty promising. This is a Wall Street Journal survey from January about are we going to have a recession by the end of this year or no? And that looks very, very promising. This is a slide for my investor clients. I always get asked, hey, what's going on with foreclosures? What's going on with short sales? We summarize them all as distressed property sales, and we are down to 2%. That number back in 2010 was more like 45, 48%. Here in 2012, it was 35%. So there's barely any foreclosures or short sales to speak of on the market, and the few that we see are typically overpriced. So this is basically good news and shows you how healthy the market is and how healthy the lending is. Speaking of lending, interest rates are very good, still under 4%. So if your current mortgage is higher, this might be a good time for you to refinance. And it certainly helps with purchasing a new property or your new dream home. Prediction for this year, depending on who you ask, a little bit different, but big picture is we're going to stay under 4%. That's the opinion of most experts, and that will fuel also the housing market. So we're expecting house prices to increase, a little bit different state by state. So these are the last 12 months here, performance by state in $1,000 of equity gain. So you can see in Wisconsin, we had about $8,000 that an average single family home gained in equity. That's better than the average in the US, $5,300. And we'll see how 2020 pans out, but that gives us a general direction. So forecast for this year is 5% for Wisconsin. I think from everything that we see, we will see a market this year in spring that is very much a replica of what we have seen in 2019. So a very hot market, properties that are presented correctly, that are staged well and priced well, will sell very, very quickly and will be competitive. So most likely we will see real estate prices go up in 2020 again, just like they did in 2019. Hope this was helpful to you, and I'll see you again in next month.